I'm going to speak from my heart. I'm going to say what I got to say and hopefully bring light to many people around me who seem to have such darkness over them and within them. I am absolutely disheartened at what I've seen over the last 48 hours here, right before my eyes, and I really just don't know what to say. I really just don't know what to say. I never imagined that the things that I read about and heard my family talk about coming from the South would basically be occurring right before my eyes. I never thought that I would live to see the day where we had a black president and the world would be in such turmoil as it is today. It's been a few times in my life where I've really felt black, and these last few days was definitely one of them. I'm always going to be pro-black because I love my blackness, because I'm black. But I can't believe how many people out here have turned what's been going on solely into a black and white issue, and it's not a black and white issue. But because people have chosen to make it a black and white issue, I'm going to speak from a black and a white place. I know the feeling of being the only black. I've said it before. Only black cheerleader, only black in the class, only black at the summer party. And I never once felt out of place. Until recently. I never thought that people that I grew up with, came from the sandbox with, broke bread with, traveled with, hung out with, family, embraced me, hugged my chocolatey neck, worshiped me and embraced me like another daughter in their family would be posting and feeling the way that they feel. Save me the bullshit with it's them, it's not you. It's those people, not you. I'm still black at the end of the day. And when you make a statement towards black people, males or females, you're speaking about me too. I'm not the exception. I'm not exempt. I can't peel this layer of skin off and be somebody when I'm around you guys and then be somebody else when I'm around my own people. White parents, for you all to not understand and sympathize with the stress, the frustration, the fear, and the reality that black parents have to deal with every day, it baffles me. Never will you have to sit in front of your son or your daughter and tell them they have to act a certain way or be a certain way from the classroom to the boardroom in order to be accepted. Your children can drive around in Range Rovers and will never get pulled over. Our kids can't do that because as soon as a police officer sees them in something expensive, they're automatically assuming that it's stolen or they're selling drugs or they did something illegal. We always have to sit with our kids and tell them you got to be a certain way. I'm living proof of that. I'm living proof of that. I was the only black child in the class from the first grade upwards, and my mother, from me to my brother to Kaya, we were always told, because you're the only black in the class, you have to work 10 times harder. Because those white kids that y'all are sitting there with, their parents are already looking at you like you're not equal with their kids to be a part of this class. Where do you think our academic competitiveness from those of us who come from Lawrence, it came from? I couldn't be the only black child in the class with the lowest grades. I couldn't be the only black child in the class and I'm the one showing out or acting an ass in the class. No. You know my mother, for those of y'all who know me. So you know how firm she was when it came to education. She's had those conversations with me. She's had those conversations with all of us. You have to act a certain way because white people are going to feel a certain way. That's not fair because no white parent will ever have to sit with their child and say you have to be different to be accepted. We have to be mindful of what we name our children because when you put some of these names that have a lot of meaning behind them that people may not understand, if they can't pronounce it, when you put it on a resume, they're automatically going to assume you're uneducated and you're ignorant and you're going to come in the workplace acting a certain way, and we don't want that element here. Why do I have to sit with my child and explain behavior about how they're supposed to be in order to be accepted? And even when they do that, it still isn't good enough. Every black male or female who has been gunned down, whether it's by police officers or civilians, have not been thugs, have not been arrested, drug dealers, baby mama, baby daddy. We've had professors, we've had educators dressed to the nines, been pulled over by cops, harassed, thrown up against the sidewalk. If you feel more outraged that the police officers who were killed in Dallas, their lives mean more than the black parents who've had to bury their children and husbands and brothers and cousins and fathers, you are the problem. You can be pro your nationality and not be anti anything. I'm pro-black. Everybody who knows me knows that. I never got around anybody white that I hung out with and talked differently and, pretended like I could take a shower and jump in my clothes and not have a whole ritual of having to grease up my skin or not tie my head up with a scarf and all these things. I was Munchell Johnson when I walked in the door, and I was Munchell Johnson when I left. I never imagined the parents, educators of people from the 5 towns that I grew up with would feel so strongly against me and my people. I've seen you post things like, if you don't want to get shot, don't resist arrest. Or if you get in trouble, don't call the cops. You all don't know what it's like to call the cops and call them for help and them come and accuse you or shoot you down. It doesn't happen in your neighborhoods. We're living proof of that. I'm always the first person to talk about the issues and the problems that we have in the black community. You know that. And I'm not afraid to call people to the carpet. But if you are a human being and you yourself cannot step back and say, wait a minute, there really is an issue with every time the police officers stop somebody black, approach somebody black, it always ends in gunfire and bloodshed. That coward walked into a church and killed 9 black people. White people always tell us, maybe if you didn't do this, maybe if you prayed, maybe if you dressed this way, if you talked this way. He was embraced in a church and prayed with 9 black people and opened fire on them like they were cattle in a barnyard. And when the police captured him, they took him to Burger King for food. You think a black person could walk in a synagogue and kill 9 Jews and walk out of there alive? You want to talk black and white? We can talk black and white because that's a reality. All the things going on in the community is slowly coming to a boil. I know what it's like to bottle your emotions and get to a breaking point and you boil over. That's what's happening now. This is nothing new. George Zimmerman is walking free because he killed a young black child walking the street in a hoodie. All of you all posting all of this, police, police. Not one of you all had sympathy for Trayvon Martin's mother. She didn't even get the chance to see her son cross the stage from high school. That's a fear that all black mothers have with their children that white mothers don't worry about. When a black mother looks her child in the face from the first time that child exits her womb, it's a fear that she has, especially for those of them who have sons, because they know that their kids are born with 2 strikes against them. You're black and you're a male. White mothers plan their kids' lives for the next 50 years. No problems. We don't have that luxury. So for all of you all who were like, oh no, where is everybody? Why aren't y'all, complaining now about the cops? What happened in Dallas is not a representation of the black community. The same way you all don't want to be categorized by the Catholic priest that y'all let molest your children and say nothing and turn a blind eye, or you all who are white who run these hedge fund companies and embezzle money and do all of this. You don't want us to look at you all the same way, but you want to group us all the same way. It's not fair and it's not right. And anybody who is a parent and they don't feel for a mother who's had to bury her kid unjustly, shame on you. And the only reason you all are now outraged, whether the snipers in Dallas were black or white, is because it's now hit your doorstep. Now, white people are starting to get it, what we get every day. Now we got to address the issue. Drugs been running rampant in black communities for years. For years. Now that we got white kids from affluent gated communities overdosing, it's an epidemic. We got to do something. We got to call a town hall. We got to do it. When it was happening in the inner city, it was, the parents there are on drugs or they're in jail or they're uneducated or they're in low income housing. Nobody cared. But now that it's happening to white kids in record numbers, we got to do something about it now. We got track coaches from Lawrence High School who post things like, y'all need to go back to where you came from. We didn't want you here anyway. Yet, when we were all running around the track and breaking records for y'all, making you look good, we was the best thing since sliced bread. You got people sitting in administrative offices at Lawrence High School posting things about, don't call the cops if you get in trouble, if you feel like it's unfair, and if you don't want to get shot, don't break the law. Wow. That's how you feel when you look in my face? Because I'm not the exception. I'm not exempt. I may not be a black male, but I'm still a target. They don't follow white kids around the stores. They follow us around. And I've been in stores where people have followed me around, and I've had to pull out my money like, understand, I don't go anywhere where I'm not able to shop. I've never been a thief. I don't have any intentions of being a thief. But that stuff doesn't happen with you all's kids. And it amazes me, born and raised here in New York, Mayor de Blasio, who has a black wife and black children, wants us to go up and shake the hands and commend police officers for a job well done. Has he told everyday civilians or other good cops to do the same things to the parents of these black kids that have been gunned down in the streets? Why must we always apologize and break the barrier to, oh, it's our fault and let's grovel at their feet? That's not fair. For me to have sympathy for you all and y'all can't see it for me. The silence of many of you on my timeline is deafening. Because if you bad enough to post something, whether it's Trump, pro-cop, whoever, be bad enough to follow it up. And if you don't want anybody's opinion, be silent. I'm against wars all the way, but I support our armed forces because they have to do their job. I'm not against cops. I'm against cops that abuse their power, the same way I'm against anyone in a position of power that abuses that. When white people speak up in the workplace, they're assertive, they're driven, they're motivated, they're creative. When black people speak up, we're argumentative, we're confrontational, we're abrasive. You got a chip on your shoulder. I live it every day, every single day. It's a double standard, and we're always on the end of, well, if you wouldn't, or if you had, or why don't you try? Nobody says that when you're talking to white people. And I know it because I've lived it. All I'm saying is open your eyes and open your mind. The same way y'all want us to embrace the Holocaust and be outraged about the Holocaust and everything about it, you want us to know soup and nuts, you should feel the same way about the fight that we blacks have had to fight. Now, I haven't had to fight the same way my ancestors and my mother and them did, but history has a way of repeating itself. And the lines have literally been drawn in the sand. Everybody on my Facebook page is a friend, a family member. I don't have any strangers. And many of you who even knew my mother before we were born, who are white, Irish white, Italian white, Jewish white, have been posting some stuff, and it's like, wow, behind closed doors, I can only imagine how many niggas we've been and mullions we've been and monkeys and apes and all. You want us to take the blame for one person's action in Dallas as if it speaks for all of us and that we all feel the same way and all black people want to gun down cops. No. But when y'all walk into a movie theater and shoot it up, oh, that was an isolated incident. That's not a representation of us. When is it going to end? The only reason why people are rioting in the streets, fighting in the streets, getting frustrated in the streets is because they're sick and tired. No mother should have to worry about getting a phone call that her child was pulled over for a busted taillight and wound up with 4 bullets in his chest. This has been going on for years. Police officers asking for you to show me your ID. Well, I'm not going to cough it up out of my mouth. And yet when I reach for my wallet or reach for the glove compartment, you empty your clip through the window. I didn't know what they were reaching for, and it was a gun, and I was fearful of my life. And you want to talk black and white? Don't talk to me about rookie cops being in black neighborhoods. You know what you're signing up for. And if you're that afraid of black people, stop listening to our music. Stop coming to our concerts. Stop trying to talk like us. Stop trying to walk with the slow bop like everybody else. You can't have it both ways. You can't be afraid of, but spend so much time trying to assimilate and come together and be just like. You're so mad at poor President Obama because he's a black man and he's educated. He hasn't done anything that he was able to possibly do because he's in a house that doesn't stand because it's divided. People are posting things about he didn't speak up, he didn't speak up, he didn't speak up. Well, damn, is he still a person? Because if he spent all of his time addressing every single fatality that's happened, he wouldn't have time to do anything a president, hopefully, could try to do. You never held Bush to that high regard. You never even held Clinton to that high regard. What Obama is dealing with is what Jim Crow is based off of. You don't want black people to succeed and excel. So you create barriers and limitations to say, okay, well, they can't do this, or if they can't do that, it makes them unqualified. There have been many people who have marched on the front lines for years and stood up for black people, from Freedom Riders to March on Washington's to everything. All of y'all repping Bernie Sanders. He stood on the front lines and he sure is white. This is not a black and a white issue. It's not us against them. Everybody just needs to take a step back, catch their breath, and realize how they would feel as a mother if they lived with the fear that black mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters live with every day. I have a brother, I have fathers, I have 2 godsons. I don't want to get that phone call. Nobody knows what it feels like. Yet you hate us so much, but you spend all your time buying bronzers and laying out in the sun trying to get darker. Yet as soon as something goes down, oh, I'm not black, or I'm not mixed, or I'm not a minority, you can't have it both ways. You can't want to look like us and then pretend not to understand the struggle that comes with being us. I never thought in my wildest dreams that people that I really, really, really considered family, friends, and otherwise thought that strongly against me. Cowardice, because you can post it, and when you're addressed, nobody wants to respond. We can't discuss it here. I didn't mean it that way. You're being too sensitive. I'm supposed to know everything about the Holocaust, and you're not supposed to care anything about Black Lives Matter. You know why we had to incorporate things like the NAACP and SNCC and NCNW? Because white people excluded us. So we needed something to recognize, celebrate, and work for us, because the white folks were like, y'all niggas ain't welcome. We had to incorporate historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, because white people don't want you educated, and they wouldn't accept you into their establishments. So let's start our own. Don't talk to me about Black Lives Matter and all lives matter, because you're not doing the same thing when it's a cancer walk. You're not running up to people at cancer walk saying AIDS matters, lupus matters, sickle cell matters. We have to show you that all lives do matter, but at the moment, we need to remind you that Black lives matter, because they're using blacks for target practice. This isn't new. Cameras are new. Rodney King's beating was on camera. All the cops were found innocent. Eric Garner's death was videotaped on camera. Everybody innocent. And it's always they should not have. Why were they? You can't have it both ways. Open up your eyes, cut it out, embrace each other, and open the dialogue for us to realize that we fighting the same fight. Many of us aren't, but we're fighting the same fight. I respect your feedback. I hope you can see where we're coming from. I hope that you can understand where I'm coming from, and I welcome any of your comments. Thank you, and good night.